Your lawn is not the problem. The bare soil underneath it is. If you are looking at more weeds than grass right now, there is a window opening in the next few weeks that most homeowners miss for an entire year, and a $2 fix that makes the difference between seed that takes and seed that dies in the ground. $2, not $200. $2, and I will show you exactly what it is and why it works when years of effort did not. But only if you do it in the right order, and that order is the part nobody talks about. You have probably tried this before. You bought seed, you spread it, you watered it, and by the following spring your lawn looked exactly the same, or worse. You told yourself the soil was bad, or the seed was wrong, or your yard just does not grow grass. None of that is true. What you ran into was a sequencing problem. 4 specific traps that kill a reseeding effort before the seed ever contacts the soil. Most people fall into at least 2 of them without knowing it. Some fall into all 4. I have been growing and maintaining my own lawn and garden here in America for over 30 years. After growing up in Nagano watching my father read his ground before he ever put a tool to it. He called it walking the rows before the work. That kind of time spent on the same soil teaches you to understand the problem before you touch it. A failed attempt is almost never about effort. It is almost always about order. Before you buy a single bag of seed this season, stay with me. By the end of this, you will know which of the 4 traps you have already fallen into, exactly what the $2 fix is, and how to use it, and the precise window you are working with, because once it closes for 12 months. If this is the kind of thing you wish someone had told you years ago, that is what this channel is. One method once a week, tested for 30 years before I ever say it out loud. Nothing sold to you. Subscribe if you want the next one. Now, the weeds themselves, and there is an important distinction here, a lawn full of weeds is not a weed problem. Weeds do not invade a dense, healthy stand of grass. They cannot compete with it. That is the lawn you want. They move into the gaps, the thin patches, the compacted areas, the places where grass has retreated. When you see crabgrass and broadleaf weeds crowding out your turf, what you are looking at is a map of where the grass lost ground. The weeds did not take it. The grass gave it up. And if you reseed into that same ground without understanding why the grass failed there in the first place, the weeds will simply take the new seed's place too. That single reframe is what changes the outcome. You are not fighting weeds. You are trying to establish a population of grass that is dense enough to outcompete whatever comes next. And that effort fails or succeeds based on 4 sequencing decisions you make before the seed goes in. But even with that understanding, most people walk straight into the first of 4 traps. Now the 4 traps, and I am going to take them in the order of how commonly people hit them, not the order of how much damage they cause. Traps 3 and 4 cost you effort. Traps 1 and 2 cost you an entire year. That difference matters. Now, trap 4 is mowing at the wrong height before you reseed. If you cut the lawn short, below 2.5 inches, in the week before seeding, you remove the light shade that keeps surface soil moisture stable. Germinating seed needs consistent surface contact and consistent moisture in the first 10 days. A closely cropped lawn dries from the top down faster than seed can establish. Mow at 3 to 3.5 inches in the weeks leading up to seeding, and leave it there. Next, trap 3 is watering at the wrong time after seeding. The instinct is to water heavily and often. That instinct costs you an even stand. What that does is move seed, float it into low spots, and create irregular germination. Thick in some areas, bare in others. After seeding, light and frequent is the rule. Enough to keep the top 1/4 inch of soil dark and damp, twice a day in warm weather. Once in cool, once you see the first green shoots, you shift to deeper and less frequent to push the roots down. So those 2 mistakes cost you a poor stand. But the next 2 cost you the whole year. Now the $2 fix, and there is a real reason this specific material makes the difference when everything else has failed. When you rake up bare patches and top dress them before seeding, most people reach for a bag of garden topsoil. It costs $3 or $4, it looks right, and it is the worst thing you can put down. Standard topsoil is loaded with dormant weed seed. You cannot see it, you cannot smell it, but it is there, sitting in the bag waiting for contact with light and moisture. You spread it, you seed into it, and the weed seed germinates faster than your grass seed does every single time. The fix is sterilized top dressing material, sand-based, heat-processed, with no viable seed content. A small bag runs about $2 at most garden centers or farm supply stores. You do not need much. A 1/4 inch over the bare patches, raked lightly to break surface crust and give the seed something to settle into. That layer contains no competition. Done this way, you will see the first green shoots in 7 to 14 days, and a stand thick enough for its first cut in about 6 weeks. Bare patch, sterilized top dress, seed into it. Walk away. That is the sequence you want. This will not save a lawn that sits compacted hard as a driveway, and it will not work in ground that stays shaded most of the day. Either of those describes your yard. You can follow every step in this video and still come up thin. That is a different problem, and it needs a different fix. But this $2 fix does absolutely nothing if you have already made Trap 2. And Trap 2 may already be sitting in your lawn right now without you knowing it. Tell me in the comments, did you put down a crabgrass preventer or a weed and feed product this past spring? That answer changes everything about your next step. 1. Trap 2 is the one that silently ends more reseeding attempts than anything else. Pre-Emergent herbicide, that is the chemical barrier in most spring crabgrass prevention products that stops seed from germinating in the top layer of soil. That is how it stops crabgrass. The seed tries to germinate, hits the barrier, and dies. The problem is, it does not distinguish between crabgrass seed and the fescue or bluegrass seed you are trying to establish. They are both seed. The barrier kills both. That barrier persists in the soil for 10 to 12 weeks after application. If you put down a crabgrass preventer in late April or May, that barrier is still active in July and into August. You can spread the finest seed money can buy, water it correctly, use the sterilized top dress, follow every other step, and nothing will germinate. The seed sits there and rots, and you will have no idea why. This is why you kept failing. Not because of the seed, not because of the soil, because of a product you applied months earlier that you no longer remembered. Honestly, just skip it. Spring crabgrass preventer applied before a fall seeding plan is a full year of effort thrown away. If you applied a pre-emergent this spring, count 12 weeks from that application date. Do not seed before that window closes. Mark the date. Wait. Now the window, and this is where everything else becomes irrelevant if you get it wrong. Cool season grasses, fescue, bluegrass, ryegrass, germinate in soil temperatures between 50 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That is not air temperature. That is soil temperature at 2 inches of depth. In most of the country, that window arrives in late August through mid-October. In the northern states, it runs shorter, sometimes only 5 to 6 weeks. In the transition zones, you may have 8 weeks. Miss this window and your seed does not die immediately. It sits dormant. Then winter arrives, and the freeze-thaw cycle works it to the surface, and birds find it, and rain moves it. By spring, the seed that did not germinate is simply gone. 1 year, that is the consequence of missed timing. Not a poor stand, a complete restart. A soil thermometer costs about $8. Push it 2 inches in, read it in the morning. When it reads consistently between 50 and 65, that is your window. That is when you move. Here is the correct sequence laid out plainly. Check whether a pre-emergent was applied this spring. If yes, calculate the 12-week barrier window and do not seed until it has cleared. Check soil temperature at 2 inches every morning. When it holds between 50 and 65 degrees, you are in your window. Mow at 3 to 3.5 inches going in. Top dress bare patches with sterilized material, a 1/4 inch deep, raked lightly. Seed at the full rate listed for your grass type. Not half rate, full rate. Water lightly twice a day until germination, then shift to deeper watering every 2 to 3 days. Do not mow the new growth until it reaches 4 inches. First, cut comes off 1 inch only. That is the sequence. All of it, in that order. 30 years of working the same ground teaches you one thing above everything else. Product applied, every cut made at the wrong height, every watering decision, the soil holds all of it. Your job, before you ask anything new of it, is to understand what you already gave it. The window I mentioned at the start of this video, this is it. Right now. Within the next few weeks, depending on where you live, that soil temperature is going to drop into range and stay there. This is not a problem you have failed at. This is a problem you were never given the right sequence to solve. Now you have the sequence. Use it. Next time I will show you how to read your soil's compaction level with nothing but a screwdriver for under $15.